because it looks as though we're seeing an end, finally, to the prolonged and severe cold weather. It does look as though we're going to see warmer, or less cold weather, really milder weather, coming up next week. Not necessarily promising, but it's going to get particularly warm, but certainly an end to the really cold weather that we've had really since the start of March, or certainly the second week of March. So if we get on video, just want to mention the advertising. There'll usually be a video ad sitting underneath my video player here at GavsMobileBiz.com. Please play those videos. You'll be supporting GavsMobileBiz.com by doing that. So we'll start off with the Arctic Oscillation Observed and Forecast chart. Arctic Oscillation, of course, is representing the state of the atmosphere over the pole. The Arctic Oscillation does not drive the weather, it's really an index but reflects what the weather is doing. And of course we had that very extreme negative Arctic Oscillation through March. We dropped off the scale, the scale had to be increased down to -6. It would normally have stopped at -4. There was the plunge. In fact, we really went negative with the Arctic Oscillation in the middle of February, and it just got more and more negative as we went through February into March, and then it went off the cliff, of course, in the second half of March. Well, now we're beginning to come back up. We're actually coming back up towards neutral. May go a little bit more negative again though in the next week, but then we've got a forecast here suggesting that we're going to go positive with the Arctic Oscillation. We can see that we haven't been positive with the Arctic Oscillation since back around the end of January into the start of February, and then only very slightly positive. We haven't really been very positive at all through this winter. We can go right back towards the start of December there, and even then we was negative with the Arctic Oscillation. So we may be going the most positive we've been with the Arctic Oscillation for many months actually, probably since November. Now, a positive Arctic Oscillation means that we're losing the blocking over the pole. So the Arctic Oscillation is a reflection of the state of the atmosphere. It's not driving anything, it's reflecting what's going on. When the Arctic Oscillation is very negative, as it has been, we've got lots of blocking areas of high pressure over the pole. When the Arctic Oscillation is positive, we haven't got that blocking. We've probably got low pressure over the pole, and the high pressure then will tend to be in the mid-latitudes, and that's where it should be, of course, and that should give us milder conditions. So we have a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly charts. We've got the ECMWF here on the left, the GFS is on the right. 500 millibars, 80,000 feet is an important area in the atmosphere. That's where we've got high pressure and low pressure developing, and they are moved around by the jet stream running above. That's really what gives us our weather. Now, when we've got lots of blocking over the pole, we'll get yellow, orange and red areas up here over the North Pole. When we've got low pressure up over the pole, we'll get these blue areas. And what we're seeing on this 500 millibar height anomaly for 8 to 10 days time is that we've lost the blocking over much of the pole, and in fact we're replacing it there with low pressure, with below average heights. So that's just telling us really what the Arctic Oscillation Index was showing, or the forecast in the index, which is that we're going to lose the blocking, we're going to replace it with low pressure over the pole, and consequently we'll increase the westerlies, and we'll start to move that high pressure down in towards the mid-latitude. There is still some blocking there around Canada, so not necessarily going to lose all of the blocking, but certainly a lot of it over the North Pole is being lost in the next 8 to 10 days. And the GFS is even more pronounced with this loss of the blocking and replacing it with below average heights up over the pole. Yes, we've got even better below average heights over the pole there. And we have got these mid-latitude high pressures around the east seaboard of the States again, developing around the Azores. Actually, haven't seen much of the Azores high this winter, but there it is. The 500 millibar high anomaly is showing it on the GFS anyway. The Azores high ridging in towards Spain, increasing the westerlies through the Atlantic. It's a more unsettled type pattern, but with Atlantic origin air, it is a milder type pattern. The GFS temperature ensembles are showing this change in the pattern as well. Very cold at the moment, still locked in the freezer really. gradually we see those temperatures increasing later this week, but it's still pretty cold really. It's not till we get to around the 9th, 10th, 11th of April that we start to see these temperature anomalies beginning to increase. Remember, the red line here is where we should be, so we're well below that at the moment. But as we get to around the 9th, 10th, 11th of April, we start to see many of the ensemble members going above that red line. Now, there's still quite a bit of scatter within the ensemble for the middle of April. So not necessarily this warm-up is going to last all that long, but certainly I think we will see somewhat milder, less cold weather coming along next week. So this is the generic chart from the GFS model. We've got high pressure to the north and the west of the country still on Saturday, so it's still cold as we go in towards the weekend. This is the 6th of April, Saturday the 6th. But as we move beyond this, then we're just going to start to see that high pressure starting to break down. It's starting to slip back in towards the mid-latitudes. It's starting to move down in towards France. Westerlies are beginning to increase in the Atlantic, trying to push these areas of low pressure through. And as we go through to Monday the 8th, and then beyond that into Tuesday the 9th, we're realigning the high pressure down into Central Europe, down in towards France and Spain. Notice it's stretching back in towards the Azores as well. The Azores are beginning to reform. Low pressure starting to develop around Iceland. This is a classic indication that we're losing the blocking and the Arctic oscillation is going positive. We're increasing the westerlies through the Atlantic, and of course westerly is always a milder direction, particularly in the middle of spring, which is what we are in at the moment. Of course we are in the middle of spring. You wouldn't know it by how the weather's been, but we're well on into spring now. And as we go through towards Wednesday the 10th of April, so this is next Wednesday, again the low pressure is around Iceland, the high pressure is ridging through the Azores in towards Spain and France. We've got the westerlies coming through. It will be a good deal milder with temperatures back to where they should be, which is somewhere around 8 to 13 or 14 degrees. And that really takes us through the rest of next week. We keep that westerly phase going, coming in across the country, westerlies. High pressure somewhere around the south of England in towards France. That's quite a nice area for that high pressure to be sitting if you want it to have a taste of spring. Low pressure is still to the north, so there will be rain coming through at times, but it's certainly a good deal milder than we've been seeing. That's for GFS. The East MWF is very similar. The high pressure is there ridging from the north as we go into the weekend, so it will still be cold to start the weekend. But as we move beyond this, then we start to increase the westerlies, we start to move the low pressure in. But this is much more unsettled for the East MWF this morning. Big area of low pressure developing out to the west of Ireland, 965 millibars, and no real influence from the Azores high. So this is very unsettled, very wet and windy through the course of next week. But it is milder, not necessarily as mild as the GFS, but it's milder, although with this area of low pressure coming across the country through the middle of next week, 975 millibars, very, very unsettled with showers and longer spells of rain. And eventually it does end up becoming quite cool again as we go through to Friday the 12th of April. We're beginning to pull back winds into the northwest around that low pressure clearing away to the east, but a lot of the blocking has broken down here. Still a bit of an influence of blocking to the north of Scandinavia, but a lot of that blocking has broken down. My expectation would be that this next area of low pressure in the Atlantic would run through, and at the same time high pressure will build over Spain and France, and will start to bring in a much milder southwesterly wind. So that's it's not as mild, it's not as spring-like as the GFS, but it's going towards that direction, but it is very unsettled. The GEM, again, we've got the cold weather still hanging on as we go into the weekend, but beyond that, actually it takes a long time to push the Atlantic through on this morning's GEM. Once we get through to Tuesday the night, the Atlantic is still really struggling to come in here, so it's still quite cold in the east, even to the start of next week. But eventually, yes, we do push the Atlantic through, and as we get through to the end of next week, then we start to introduce proper southwesterlies across the country. High pressure again beginning to ridge around France and Spain, starting to push up this very mild southwesterly airstream. and as I say, that would be very nice indeed. As we go beyond this, just have a look at the GFS. This is for a long way out. This is for the Tuesday the 16th of April, so it's 348 hours away, but this is showing a proper build of pressure there across the country. High pressure really taking over the patterns, setting across the British Isles, going down into France, Spain, Portugal, wafting up very mild air from the north. Notice the black line, the jet stream, has gone north of the country, so we're on the warm side of the jet going into the middle of the month, and temperatures with that in good sunny spells will be probably up to around 18 or 19 degrees, so that's somewhere into the mid 60s Fahrenheit, the warmest that we've seen probably since back in September or the start of October. So definite signs there. It's a long way off, of course, don't take that too seriously, but definitely signs this morning that the cold weather is finally on its way out. Spring is coming towards us now, and I think once we get through to next week, we really will start to see those temperatures beginning to lift up properly, and it may turn unsettled. We may get some showers, some April showers, but certainly a much more spring-like feel to the weather next week, I think. So the cold weather is finally coming to a close. That's it for now. Come back tomorrow. I'll be doing the 5-day forecast, but that's it for now. Thanks for watching.